Hi, my name is Mobeek, and as you are aware, Autonomous has been in the heart of the message from Oracle to our customers preparing to go to cloud or already there. I have the pleasure of having Robert Greene, the Autonomous Product Manager in OCI. Autonomous has been the heart of all the consolidation that we've been talking about. And Robert is responsible for Autonomous Warehouse and Autonomous OLTP. Hi, Robert. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Mo. Thanks. Yeah, it's great to be here and speaking with the folks in the Oracle Data Infrastructure Forum. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. Robert, as an observation, if I may, there's been a lot of progress going on in the art of autonomous, in the world of autonomous, and with the dedicated and shared. And the last few months is really been a lot of features and functionalities that have been coming online. I would like to hear from you what you feel the last 12 months progress has been, and how this progress has helped our customers.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, there have been a tremendous number of features that have been released. It's just almost impossible to cover them all here. What I would do is highlight that there's sort of three key themes that we focused on in the last fiscal year. Making the database service more autonomous, making it more mission critical, and ultimately making it more usable. If I look at those three themes, in the making it more autonomous spectrum, we added, for example, auto partitioning and auto ML and refreshable clones. So things that just make it easier for people to use the database in more advanced ways, the database service in more advanced ways, and deal with scale and performance, right? Things like auto partitioning, which will help companies that who have like massively growing data sets. If I look at the mission critical side, some impressive features have come out. For example, we launched the autonomous data guard capability, including cross-region on the dedicated side, and which cross-region would be coming on shared as well. And we introduced Golden Gate. Okay, and Golden Gate is important because not only does it allow you to move real-time data into the autonomous database service and let you migrate with zero downtime, but it can also be used to help stand up these sort of active platinum level deployments of autonomous. So a lot of value from a mission critical perspective. And then we've done things like we introduced private endpoints and access control lists to keep all the network traffic secure for these mission critical systems. And we've introduced things like one-off patching. In autonomous dedicated, you can do one-off patching through the whole software automation process. So for mission critical systems, that kind of capability becomes really important. When we look at usability, wow, I mean, we introduced new service layers. So we introduced the Apex low-code service layer. We introduced the JSON service layer. And we also added our latest database 21C release. And we made all those available on the always free tier, right? So making it much more accessible and usable for prospective customers. And then we did things like we've added database actions, which lets you import data more easily into the service while also doing data transformations and other sort of pipelining workflows with your data, customer contacts. And we added something called fractional OCPUs. Fractional OCPUs allow you to do database consolidation for your dev test or smaller database needs, like in SaaS kind of solutions. You can get as many as 10 databases on one OCPU. Okay, and then probably the most important thing that's happened is we launched Autonomous Database for our Exadata Cloud customer. And so now we can take all the benefits of Autonomous and we can bring them right there to the customer's data center, which makes it much easier for them to modernize their database estate while dealing with the reality that their enterprise architecture is a very complex, intertwined thing. And it's hard just to lift that up and bring it into cloud. So it's a pretty exciting set of features that we've launched this last year.
It's fantastic. I must admit, when I heard about the fractions and in in the world of consolidation for dev and test and all the people I've talked to, they're excited by this. We are over provisioning, we are over subscribing, and that is a lot of savings. So I know you probably have got a lot of customers in different sectors and industries. Perhaps you could give us a rundown as who's really gone into autonomous in a big way and really unleashed the potential of autonomous. Give us some perhaps use cases where we can actually feel how it's done and what they're doing out there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we have thousands of autonomous database customers. So we literally are pretty much in every sort of industry. If I had to think about like what are the strongest ones, it's hard to pick, but probably I'd say healthcare, high tech companies, and surprisingly even finance. And if I look at those three industry segments, we see the big names, right? It's hard for me to articulate that list, right? I mean, we've got these always disclosure agreements with these various big companies. But some ones that you would definitely recognize. And if we look even internationally, we find healthcare providers like, for example, national pharmacies out of Australia. This is a provider that has 350,000 member pharmacies, and they're using both autonomous transaction processing and autonomous data warehouse in order to optimize the supply chain. So they're sort of doing a real-time tracking of inventory and working with the supply chain, it's actually JD Edwards, in order to optimize the delivery and refresh of that demand and saving a ton of money in the process. If I look in the finance space, I mean, there's been a very public big win with Deutsche Bank that I'm sure many of you are aware of at this point. And there are many, many others that are very, very similar to that. But again, if I look internationally, we find, for example, companies like AsiaPay out of Hong Kong. And this is a digital payments provider. So you could think of them kind of like a PayPal in North America or an Interac up in Canada. And what they do, they specialize in transactions that span multiple countries, multiple currency types. And real time with like tens of millions of transactions flowing through, they're using Oracle machine learning with autonomous to score all those transactions and to identify fraudulent activity and quarantine and basically prevent fraud. So some pretty amazing stuff. One of the things that and then high tech, of course, a whole bunch of high tech companies. But what I wanted to point out was that we also see a trend in SaaS adoption for autonomous. And SaaS is really important because basically SaaS is the ISV in the cloud era, right? I mean, instead of shipping software all over the place as an ISV, you build an app and you have your customers subscribe to it as a service, right? So we are seeing a lot of SaaS providers. For example, NEC out of Japan, they have a Next Solutions branch, which is delivering a point-of-sale solution for retail. And so we're talking like 4,000 different locations where they're deploying this software. And they moved that whole system to autonomous. And they saw tremendous performance improvements and a scale, basically, in that point-of-sale solution by moving it to autonomous. We have other SaaS providers like Right Now. If you've heard of the ERP system Right Now, this is actually a company that Oracle had also fairly recently acquired. But Right Now is a really impressive autonomous user because what they're doing is they've developed a microservices strategy and architecture around the autonomous database. And they are literally like taking that fractional OCPU model that I talked about, and they're packing in their customers onto a consolidated environment where in a given quarter rack, they have as many as 1,000 customer databases in one quarter rack, right? And it's all autonomous data guard enabled across region and all of that, right? So it's a very, very impressive deployment of autonomous database. on dedicated infrastructure. And then we've got folks like DataFox. If you haven't heard of DataFox is an analytics provider. They do like customer 360 analytics, and you can plug it into your ERP. Those guys moved off of Amazon, okay, and they moved off of, in Amazon, it was a mixture of Postgres, Redshift, MongoDB, and DynamoDB. And they were able to converge all of that onto the Autonomous Database. And so it's much, much simpler to manage. It's so much easier to scale. And yeah, so it was a big improvement over what they previously had. So some very impressive use and adoption of Autonomous Database over this last year.
Thank you, Robert. I can vouch for the finance sector here, and they are just waiting, and they're just raring to move on to autonomous. Most of the stuff I work on is Cloud at Customer. So with all these new features that have been released and new features that I'm sure are following on, should our customers change their stance and approaches to the consolidation or autonomous world?
Well, I think they should think about it differently. So especially now that we have Autonomous Database on Exadata Cloud at Customer, where you can bring all the values of Autonomous on-prem, I think we're in a situation where we're no longer just talking about a database consolidation, which is what customers would think about with a move to Exadata, but rather database modernization with Autonomous. And that is moving you into this era where your database technology really becomes that marketing, self-driving, self-securing, self-repairing database platform. But what you need to realize is that it's not just marketing hype, right? It's software, okay? And we're in year 4 with Autonomous, and so we're just doing for our industry, like the database industry. Oracle's a leader in database, leader in cloud. So we're doing for database services what all industries are doing, which is applying AI to their products and services to make a better consumer experience. That's all this is. And what you need to understand is Autonomous Database is the future of database for Oracle Cloud, and for Oracle Exadata. And so what we've done is we're delivering it in such a way in a dedicated model, including Cloud at Customer, where you have not just the full-on Class 5 Autonomous Database marketing stated capabilities, but you also have this ability to put these trust and verify controls in place. So the software automation does its job, but you can trust and verify that it's autonomously doing the right thing before it stages through your pre-prod, UAT, and eventually to your production systems. And so that gives you a very practical way to adopt Autonomous. And so the other thing to realize is that the benefits that you get from Autonomous, that lowering your costs, improving your security profile, getting humans out of the loop, always being patched up to date, those kind of advantages, you can bring those into your data center in a cloud subscription model with Cloud at Customer. And when you're doing that, you're not just bringing the technology change, you're also bringing with it a kind of an operational change, because behind all those cloud services, we're moving to more of a DevOps model. And people aren't largely aware of this, but we actually have reorganized so support reports up into engineering executive management now. And we're aligning the cloud services and Autonomous in particular in such a way that it's driven through DevOps processes. So today, in year 4 of Autonomous, we're catching like almost 90% of any kind of errors that are happening in an automated way behind the scenes with our ops. But it's software. So there's still that, that piece where it does involve an interaction with the customer. But because it's driven through this DevOps model and we have all the access to all the diagnostics, logs, all that, we're compressing that cycle with the customer and minimizing it. And after we figure out, if there is a customer interaction, we root cause analysis and we bring that back into the AI stack so that we can avoid that kind of failure condition to the surfacing to the customer in the future. So this just hardens and it gets better and better over time. And it really is, again, thinking about database modernization as well as consolidation, and moving into just a completely different way of thinking about using database technology.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned security, you mentioned consolidation, modernization, all the cost savings from resource, both at human level and eliminating errors at human level. It's absolutely brilliant, and thank you for your time today. I could spend another hour or two just listening to you talking about this, but I'll just be running out of time. So thanks again, Robert, and have a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to be here, and I hope to do it again. All right. Take care, everyone.